it's important. You know, there's a lot of kind of misconception out there about what we do when you see it referred to as, you know, like, oh, the water boys on the football field, or you know, a lot of the times with just saying trainer, it can be, you know, like people are like, oh, so I bet you can give me really big muscles. And I'm like, well, that's not exactly what I do. But I think it's just a great way to like kind of get out there what we do, and kind of try to educate people on a little bit more of like behind the scenes of what we do. You know, they see us running on the field or the court if somebody goes down, but they don't necessarily realize all of the prep work that goes into it, and kind of, you know, prevention and rehab, and really taking an injury from that moment on the court, it like all the way through getting them back. And I think that having a month to talk about it and just learn a little bit more is impressive.
Is that kind of the most rewarding part of the job, when you see somebody go down with an injury and you're able to get them back, or is there something else that is kind of that warm and fuzzy thing?
No, I mean, you know, it's we kind of say it all the time. It's kind of a thankless job. Like a lot of times what we do on just a daily basis just, you know, kind of gets glossed over, but it's those moments when you do, you know, have somebody that's got a season-ending injury, and in that moment, you know, especially like for me, when I kind of started off with a new team and coming in, and there was somebody that was, you know, injured that year, and just getting them to the point where I finally watched them like play in a game, and that's like a really exciting thing. And so I just, you know, those moments are really nice. And then you always get kind of surprised randomly at the end of the year. Someone comes up and they're just like, thank you for everything you've done. Or even like years later, you get an athlete coming back and just being like, you have no idea what you meant to me. And it's those moments that's why we do it.
Having two sports that are vastly different, basketball and golf, you also have to prepare yourself differently, because what might be a priority in one is not a priority in the other. How do you go about balancing your workload to know what works best for one versus the other?
You know, a lot of that just comes from kind of a little bit trial and error, but just kind of my education and experience. You know, it's a lot of people don't necessarily go all through school and like focused solely on one sport. You know, while you're in school, you have a variety of experiences with both kind of, you know, the faster paced, a little bit more acute, kind of high impact injuries versus kind of the more chronic nagging injuries, and just kind of that, like, you know, the repetitive motion of golf that you don't get in basketball. I mean, like, yeah, they're shooting, but there's so much variety in it. Whereas with golf, you take those hits and those swings like over and over again, and your practice is just hitting a ball. And you know, so it's, you just, you know, you learn kind of the nuances and differences, and learn how to work with each individual person then in each different sport, because there's nuances within the people too, and just kind of learning each of your athletes and how to serve them the best.
We all have a why on how we got started, or what motivates us to do what we do. What was your why that got you into this?
I actually originally started off, I thought I wanted to be a physical therapist. And my mom, my freshman year of high school, was in a skiing accident and tore all of the ligaments in her knee. And, you know, I'd go to like physical therapy with her every once in a while, and I'd be like, this is what I want to do. I get to help people in like an active way. Like, I want to do this. So for years, I was like solely, all through high school, all through undergrad, solely focused on getting into PT school. And then I was actually working in a PT clinic while I was like applying to schools. And there was a few PTs that were also athletic trainers. And I started kind of talking to them, and somehow magically, from having injuries in college and working with my athletic trainer, I never once thought about the profession, but you know, it was those moments of talking to them, and I actually made a list of like all of my favorite parts about physical therapy and my least favorite parts, and all of my favorite parts were athletic training, and all of my least favorite parts were physical therapy. So it was kind of that moment that I was like, oh, I've wanted to do this for like almost a decade, and I just realized it was the wrong thing. So that was kind of how I got into it.
You got out for a while, and then you got drawn back in. How was it that you decided to kind of wanted back into this world?
So yeah, so I had gone to like kind of the high school realm for a little bit. I left Iowa and moved back here when my now husband proposed, because we realized long distance was no longer for us. And at the time, the only kind of option was high school. So kind of jumped into that boat, and it was very different. And then this opportunity came up, and I missed the fast pace. I missed the, you get to know your high school athletes, and a lot of them are 3-sport athletes, and, kind of doing that, and you get to know their families. But there was something about kind of being like teen mom, basically, and just really being there on a little bit more of that like mental and emotional level. I mean, you still get that at the high school, but they're living with their parents. They still have that whole support system that they've always known. So there's something about kind of being that for the athletes in college that I really missed.
You like the fast pace, but you also have to juggle a lot of the balls in the air. I mean, you're balancing this. You've got the family at home. To the best of my knowledge, you're the only female on staff that has kids. I mean, it's got to be a unique balance for you.
It's definitely a balance, and it's been hard with COVID, because I'd love to, bring my kids in more and really like let them run around on the basketball court and do that. But, COVID obviously has had other plans while I've been here. But, my husband fully supports. He's like, if this is what you want to do, then we're going to make it work. And he knows the world of collegiate athletics. He's, the team physician down at Adrian College. So he works with athletic trainers on a daily basis and kind of sees what they have to put up with. So while he doesn't necessarily know my job, he knows what those athletic trainers deal with. And so he's just always really supportive. And, if it weren't for COVID, like pre-COVID, I was like, look, I want our kids to be at this basketball game. And he's like, okay, if I have to bring them to this game, then I'm going to bring them to this game so that you can take them at the end of the game and show them around all your athletes. And, we had it's just really fun. Like I was able to bring them by like last weekend, and just seeing how much fun, the kids have with the athletes, and kind of vice versa, and just like letting the athletes kind of see that side of me, and like they know me as mom, but they don't know me as a mom.
Speaking of the kind of family atmosphere, that's one of the commonalities between everybody. They appreciate the ability to be a family while working here. How important is it for you as a collective sports medicine group to be as tight as you are?
I mean, that's huge. That's the reason that you stay at places, because no matter the day-to-day ins and outs struggles, it's the people you work with that make you want to come to work every day. And like I originally, my son was scheduled to have a surgery when we were supposed to play Western, and there was no question. Like Alex was just like, yeah, I got you. Like I'll go on the trip. Like you go be there for your son, and I'll travel with him. I got you. And and I, especially just coming back from maternity leave, like knowing that like all of the staff has already done so much and covered so much for me, that like still having people like willing to help me is just huge. So it's part of that, balancing that my home family with my work family, and they're always super supportive, which is awesome.
Anything that's important that you think for this video about either you or athletic training month in general?
I think that the biggest thing is that we get to see a side of collegiate athletics that a lot of people don't see. And there's a lot of behind the scenes work that we do that is really important. And it's not just about making sure that they're hydrated, which is a big issue, but it's not just handing them a towel and a water bottle on the sideline. It really is about the whole athlete, and that's what we focus on and put literally everything into every day. And people don't necessarily see that. They're just like, oh, that's cool. You get to travel? And you're like, well, yeah, I'm on call 24 hours a day all the time.